Peace. Welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about how former President Donald Trump has officially posted his $175 million bond for that fraud case. We'll give you the latest around that. Also, let's talk a little bit about how the Tennessee lawmakers broke up one HBCU's board of directors because of information that HBCUs were not handling the money correctly. We'll get into that. And later on, this is Beyonce's country. Yes, folks. We'll talk about how the superstar's new album is breaking records on Spotify and other places and generating new conversations about Black artistry. So we'll have that discussion. Stay tuned. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Happy Tuesday, as it is April the 2nd. Man, April came flying through. We are already in the fourth month of the year, folks. So happy Tuesday. Hopefully your week is starting off on a great note. Folks, we got a lot to talk about, but first, let's talk about where we're streaming at. First, check us out on our home platform of Black Star Network. You can go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com, download the app for free, follow us on social media at Black Star Network, and just drop something in the bucket as we are looking to recreate the conversations and have different discussions about what's going on in Black in America. And speaking of which, someone has already donated. So big shout out to Sandra D. Stovall Wilson. Sandra, thank you so much for coming in and being a part of the chat, and more importantly, offering your donation to help us in this great work that we are embarked upon. So big shout out to Sandra D. Stovall Wilson. Thank you so much for coming in as a fan of the Bring the Funk Club at a level 1 rate. Thank you, Sandra. Let's give Sandra a warm round of applause for checking in and being a part of this fantastic group of supporters that we got here at Black Star Network. Thank you, Sandra. Folks, we're also streaming on Amazon platforms. You can find us on Amazon News, on your Fire TV, on your Amazon Prime Video. Just take a look at us on the Prime Video app under Live TV, then News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then Live TV, then News. We're also on the Freevee network, where you can find us on now under News, right there at Black Star Network on Freevee. And we're on Plex TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Black Star Network or find us under Live TV, then News and Opinion. All right, let me go to the crew as folks are checking in from around the country as we stream a bit on Big Brother Roland Martin's Facebook page and his YouTube channel. And big shout out to the online culture crew for always being with me. There we go. We're getting a little something on this Tuesday. And I see folks are checking in from around the country. I see you, Tiana. I see you, Pastor Damon Bissett. Good to connect with you, brother. And I enjoyed your Easter Sunday sermon. Thank you for checking in. Robin Welch, I see you. Thank you for checking in. Big brother Willie Frazier, I see you. Tiana, I see you. Who else we got in here? Cindy D, I see you. Real Brooklyn, my guy. Welcome back to Real Brooklyn. Where you been at, man? Where you been at? Don't leave us, and don't leave no message. Don't leave no note telling us where you went, not where you going, and all that stuff. But good to have you back, brother. Thank you for checking in. Soka's Adventure, I see you, and all of you are checking in. It's always good to reconnect with y'all. All right, let's get into it. First, let's talk about former President Donald Trump. I don't know why I was thinking Ronald Reagan. Former President Donald Trump has officially posted his $175 million bond for that civil fraud case that our sister Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, had prosecuted for him. Now, y'all remember that he was originally supposed to at least pay $474 million for that civil fraud case for all of the violations of his businesses, the business practices. Basically, he was found guilty of fraud. I just want to make this very quickly clear that this is not about some technical issue, some legal issue. He was found guilty of fraud, and as a result of that, had to pay some money to try to deal with this situation. 454 million, excuse me, let me correct myself. He was trying to, it was put on him that he needed to pay $454 million that he owes and preventing the state from seizing his assets. Y'all remember when Letitia James said, look, if you don't pay this money by this certain date, then we're going to start seizing assets. Then to remember, just last week, another judge said, well, he doesn't have to pay the full 454 million. He could just kick out 175 million. Well, boom, that was done yesterday, folks. He paid $175 million bond. This will stop the state of New York from claiming or laying or seizing his assets. Let me share with you very quickly what this bond situation looks like. The first one is that this bond Trump is posted with the court now is essentially what they call a placeholder, meant to guarantee payment if the judgment is upheld. If that happens, folks, a presumptive Republican presidential nominee will have to pay the state the whole sum, which grows with daily interest. If Trump wins, he won't have to pay the state anything and will get back the money he has put up now. Isn't that something? Well, he secured the bond through through a company called Knight Specialty Insurance Company. Knight Specialty Insurance Company. Let me share with you a little bit about Knight Specialty Insurance Company. Let's go to quote 2, please. This is the insurance company, which is owned by the privately held Hankey Group, whose chairman told ABC News that he considers himself a Donald Trump supporter. Now, according to Mr. Don Hankey, who serves as the founder, he said, this is what we do at Knight Insurance, and we're happy to be able to accommodate the ex-president in this situation. I'd say it's more of a business decision, but I happen to be a supporter also. So Don Hankey and Knight Specialty Insurance Company has decided to put their support and help Donald Trump in getting out of this little situation that he finds himself in with this security fraud case. Tiana checking in. I wanted to get your thoughts on this real quick before we move on. And I'm loving what I'm seeing already. Who else is? Who we got? Tiana, you saying who keeps saving this fool, man? Somebody is, and this dude. That's all I can say, Tiana. This dude. Who keeps saving him? Y'all remember last week, his lawyers was like, he can't even kick out 454. He don't have the money. Then Trump kept saying, no, I got the money. I got the cash. And according to the Mr. Don Hankey, he said that Trump put up cash. He got to put up a lot of cash on the table, but he put up some collateral as well. And that's how they was able to insure this bond. So he got the money, but he didn't have 454 million. But he was able to find 175 million. But I'm like you, Tiana. Who keeps saving this guy? Woo! Who keeps saving him? That's a great question. Lydia Brown, you say WTF? What the? That's right. Don't you wish you had friends like this? You know what I mean? That, oh man, I'm in a $175 million jam. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. And I'm a supporter of you as well. Now, this is also the same insurance company, folks, that was going to help him with that 454 million. This is the same. They were in negotiations to even help him with that load. But once the judge said, no, you only got to pay $175 million, to prevent your assets from being seized, then the insurance company said, oh, we got this. You got this. We'll make this happen for you. Interesting. Robin Welch, you said that's absolutely crazy. The devil is a lie. Isn't this crazy? And it's crazier because just when you thought, oh man, somebody kind of got this guy, 454 million, he's looking at getting his assets seized, then boom, somebody else comes in to the picture. And that's how this situation goes. Like, we're starting. I don't have enough time, but this is serious. It's crazy at the same time. It's very, very crazy. So that's the situation with former President Donald Trump. I'm sure he feels a little bit better, feels a little bit vindicated. He's able to kind of like move on. But again, it's still not all as well. You know, it's got to be based upon whether this judge is being helpful. For right now, this is enough money to kind of slow down the process in this civil fraud case. And of course, he got other cases, but as you can see, and of course, also Donald Trump is appealing. So that's the other thing about this particular civil fraud case. He's appealing. So this is sufficient for now until the appeal, or if the appeal happens, and we will keep you certainly updated on that. All right, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit about what the state of Tennessee is doing to try to, quote unquote, remedy some problems at a HBCU, Tennessee State University. I'm going to check in with my sister Amber Webb Sims, the attorney, co-host of the Brokish podcast, to talk to us about that. Plus, I'm going to get her take on what we saw with this whole $175 million. So stay with us. We still got a lot more to cover in the first half of the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. He stoked racial violence, attacked voting rights, and if reelected, vowed to be a dictator and, quote, get revenge. We can't go back. As president, I put money in pockets, creating millions of new jobs, and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Game on. State of the Union 2024. Huge night for President Joe Biden.
This was a CVS receipts type of night.
He dragged the hell out of the Supreme Court. And he said, y'all gonna see the power of women.
Trump's brain is melting as we speak.
We want to organize from a place of strength.
There's no confusion whatsoever about what they've done and what they plan to do.
What Donald Trump is doing is presenting a fallacy.
He is convincing them that he's all in it for them, when in fact he's all in it for himself.
We do not feel Joe Biden, in spite of the success that have taken place during this administration economically. There are too many things where we do not feel like he's had our back.
You should also be investing in the barbershops and the beauty salons and the hookah bars and the folks who are going to the club, and there's a way to actually get them registered because we've done it before. But if you don't have folks who understand that dynamic, then you're missing a big opportunity.
So we said we just celebrated. For what? Why don't you go to Selma to celebrate rather than recommit yourself to the fight if the very thing we went to celebrate has been gutted?
Republicans did not support a lot of the bills that were necessary to keep the country fluid. You can't only love your country when you win, right?
Oh, no. You guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut?
This was absolutely the knockdown, drag out that we were really waiting to
Black
see.
voters are the base. They're the most important base of the Democratic Party. There was very few language in this speech. At the time, we see an attack on Black history, attack on DEI. The end of the BLM racial reckoning thing has come to a complete end because there was nothing in this speech for that.
Our movement has never been grounded in two-party politics in this country. All of our movements ultimately get co-opted by a state that is anti-Black.
They called the old because they knew the way, and they called the young because they were strong. And I believe there is a good combination of that, but we can have ideas and we can have visions and dreams, but we have to have our young people also working beside us because they are strong and they will run that race and they will run it to the end.
Activists, organizers, and young people have been pushing this administration to be on the right side of history and to do something about the issues that they care about.
While the Ukraine and Palestine are critical issues, they are not the only global issues.
Not a single Black person who should ever let it come out their mouth that I'm tired. Because there is somebody else who came before us who didn't stop fighting.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. All right, let's kind of switch gears as we talk about what's happening in the state of Tennessee as Tennessee lawmakers move forward to breaking up the HBCU Tennessee State University Board and how this happened, and more importantly, what can we expect moving forward. Now, here joining me to have this discussion is Amber Webb Sims, my sister, who is an attorney, and she serves as the co-host of the Brokish podcast. Amber, good afternoon. Good to connect with you once again. How are you feeling?
Hello, Farajii. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. First, before we jump into this, I want to kind of get your take on what we saw with the former president posting this $175 million bond. This doesn't get him told completely off the hook, but this was a big move. He was able to make it happen. But if it wasn't for that a judge then making that decision, he would still be in dire straits at this point. So what's the likelihood that he is going to be held fully accountable for all of the civil fraud stuff that he was initially prosecuted for?
So the purpose of an appeal bond is to keep people from filing frivolous appeals to avoid satisfying a judgment that's been rendered against them. And so it's sort of designed to force litigants to put some skin in the game. Like, if you want to appeal, that's fine, but you're going to put this money up sort of as a collateral of proof that you can actually satisfy the judgment and not that you are just trying to delay. And I understand the judge's reasoning. The $400+ million amount is a large amount, but I think really what Trump is trying to do in this case, like he's trying to do in all the cases, is to use delay and stall tactics to keep judgments from being enforced or being rendered prior to this election. And I think that really what he's hoping is for this appeal process to buy him some time.
And he's getting the time now. I mean, he's got the support. One of our culture crew members, Amber, and her name Tiana, she's like, how is this? Who keeps helping this guy? Like, how does this keep happening? It seems like there is that moment where you're like, okay, somebody finally got him, and then boom, somebody off the woodwork comes and saves and rescues him. What does that say to you?
So this is just plain old greed. This is really not about saving Trump. Bond work is risk work. And so your goal when you put up a bond for somebody is to make a profit, either by the interest you're making during the time it takes for the bond to be paid back to you, or by being able to actually foreclose on the collateral that the bond is standing in the stead of. And so I think that now that Trump is exposed to be a sham, it is very clear that he's highly leveraged. Remember, this is his second bond because he had to take out a $91 million bond to appeal the judgment in the Jean Carroll case. I think the people that are offering this bond are doing so from a place of risk assessment. They think they're going to make some money. And I think that's why they're doing it.
Even though the guy who gave him the bond said he's a supporter, he said this is a business decision, but it's also kind of personal because I'm the supporter of the ex-president.
Yeah, and I'm sure that has something to do with it as well, because now this is free publicity, this is politics. But at the end of the day, this is about money. This is about money. And so the kind of interest you're making on a $175 million bond, or alternatively, when the value of the underlying collateral exceeds that, you're in a good position. And so I think this was some free publicity for the bond company, but I also think they know that it's good risk. It's good risk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you kind of picking your brain around that issue. Let's talk a little bit. We're going to take another quick pause, but when we come back, I got to talk to you, Amber, about Tennessee and what the future of TSU moving forward. So we're going to have that conversation on the other side. Folks, join us in the discussion. Post your comments as we're streaming now on Big Brother Roland Martin's Facebook page, as well as his YouTube channel. Just join us in the chat with the illustrious culture crew. I would love to hear what you got to say about this story. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. As president, I put money in pockets and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together.
I need you to scream for your new beginning. 5, 4, 3, 2. I need you to shout for it. I need you to shout for it. It won't always be like this. Sooner or later, it's gonna work in your brother's favor, in your sister's favor. They shall not die. They shall not die. They shall not die. I want you to embrace somebody and tell them welcome to the greatest season of your life. Hug somebody, welcome.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, Amber Webb Sims, who's an attorney and serves as the co-host of the Brokerage Podcast. And y'all can check her out here on Tuesdays as we have these conversations. But that's it right there. Let's put the podcast back up there because I'm sure she would love to have more people listening and checking her out and all the good things that they're talking about. Brokish. That's what it is, folks. Brokish.
Yes.
I love it.
All the broken-ish. Yes.
Brokish. Let's talk about Tennessee State University, which is broken, has been broken up. As we look at the latest word that's coming out of there, how Tennessee lawmakers, Amber, have decided to kind of move in and intervene on a situation as they have gotten reports. The state has gotten reports that there was some issues with the funding. According to the reports, take a look at this, y'all. Governor Bill Lee, in an unprecedented move, signed into law legislation that dismantled the storied HBCU's Board of Trustees. There were calls for a new board beginning back in 2023 after multiple audit reports highlighted concerns around the mishandling of finances, housing, and scholarship. A bill was then crafted that would replace 3 board members before being amended to remove all of them. Damn. Now, let me just say this, folks, that if they were replaced with more Black people that the governor said that are of high quality, and of course he didn't say it like, oh, I got some new Black people for TSU, but he did ask for a new set of board to run TSU. The thing is, take a look at quote number 2 here very quickly, y'all. The thing is, there was a new forensic audit that was spanning from July 2019 through June 2023. It was released last Wednesday. It offered dozens of recommendations and pointed to deficient processes, but did not uncover fraud or malfeasance. Now, the following day, when that report came out last week, the Republican-controlled and majority-white Tennessee House voted in favor of the bill, dismantling the board 66-25. Governor Lee quickly signed that into law. TSU President Glenda Glover is stepping down in June, and a search is underway for her replacement. All right. Amber, I got to ask you, is this the best move for TSU? For one, what's your take on it? Is this the best move? The government, that the state had to intervene based on reports and say, you know what, we can't let this continue to happen, and this is what we're going to do. Do you think that was the best move?
So let me just say, we have to start at the beginning, because white supremacy's favorite play is to start in Psalms and skip Genesis, okay? And so
Come on, you about to take us to church already on a Tuesday. Go ahead.
One of the things that you cannot appreciate about what this audit found is that the state of Tennessee owes Tennessee State University at least $150 million. And that's just a conservative estimate. What the BBC estimates is, of course, that money had been placed in investments in an endowment. It would be worth about $2 billion right now.
Wow.
And so the state has not denied that it has short funded and underfunded Tennessee State over the last 30 years. And so I want to be very clear that when we look at what's happening in this audit, what you see is over the course of time, you have had a university that's essentially been doing what all Black people who are underpaid and overworked have to do, which is make $1 out of 15 cents and rob Peter to pay Paul. And so the report was very clear in finding there was no malfeasance or no fraud. But yes, there have been processes that have not been followed completely because there's no money. There has been a tremendous growth under the leadership of Dr. Glenda Baskin Glover, but the housing at the school cannot keep up with the amount of growth that they are experiencing. And so a lot of students were housed temporarily in hotels, which I will say, I went to a predominantly white university. I went to George Washington University in the District of Columbia, and our university did the same thing. But of course, it is, newsworthy or something to remove the board about when a Black university does it. And so I just think that whatever our critiques might be of some of the mistakes that the board has made at Tennessee State University, what we need to keep in mind is that the reason why these mistakes have been made is because the state of Tennessee hasn't ran the university its money, period.
Wow. Look, we got to take another quick pause, but let's continue to talk about this. Because there is so much to say about the fact that, how HBCU money is handled. And I think this is indicative, Amber, of what we may expect to happen to other HBCUs if those processes and those operations aren't cleaned up a little bit, that they're going to be used as a scapegoat to bring in some type of takeover of HBCUs. I mean, I might be speaking way too far down the line. I might be speaking out of the side of my neck, as they say. But I can see this happening, especially since a lot of our HBCUs are in like Republican-controlled states, that they could use this and say, you know what? Let's check into the finances, not looking at themselves and holding themselves accountable, but looking at how we handle the money and the resources and say, you're not doing a great job, so I guess we need to come in. We're going to continue the conversation on the other side. Folks, join us in the discussion. Post your comments, share your thoughts as we're streaming on Brother Roland's Facebook page and his YouTube channel. And stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Something I want to tell you. I am running for president.
Of the United States? Holy.
I'm paving the road for a lot of other people looking like me to get elected.
Brooklyn's first Black representative.
You're about to make history.
You want to be president? You ain't no man.
Maybe we should find your mother. All you got is your one vote.
You sound just like every other politician.
Do I look like every other politician?
Freedom!
Truly, you can't win.
And why can't I win? I have an opportunity to make a difference.
Creation!
This isn't a campaign. It's a joke. The only thing anybody's gonna remember is that there were a bunch of Black folks who made fools of themselves.
I'll kill you!
Too much suffering. And I don't know how to not try.
We're living it proud.
think I'm special. I just want to remind people what's possible.
We need something that's going to make some noise.
The Black Panthers and Shirley Chisholm. It's like thunder and lightning. I'm going to force all the politicians to be held accountable.
You're gonna do all that. School teacher from Brooklyn.
Harriet was just a slave. Rosa was just a domestic. What is it you do for a living again?
The people of America are watching us.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I've been checking in with my sister Amber Webb Sims, who's an attorney and a co-host of the podcast Broke-ish, as we're talking about what's going on, the drama down in the state of Tennessee and the fate of TSU, the historic black college down in Tennessee, Tennessee State University, and all of that's happening as the Governor Bill Lee, decided to move forward and sign in a piece of legislation into law that would essentially dismantle the Board of Trustees of the HBCU after a couple of audits found that there was some malfeasance, but no fraud. And Amber, you were making a point that this happens sometimes because given the fact that, you have schools that, well, let's say HBCUs, when they experience some growth and some changes, and there's a lot of good things that are potentially happening for that HBCU. The state is still overseeing this whole thing, and if the state don't put the proper resources to provide the support for that growth, creating or expanding the infrastructure to handle that growth, then there are going to be some problems. And that's what we're seeing with TSU right now, that there are some accounting problems, and all of these things are happening. The governor said, hey, we're going to try to do something, but this is not unusual for an HBCU to be in, is it?
Not at all. And I will tell you this, I just want to clear up one thing. Ironically, the audit found there was no malfeasance or fraud. It just found accounting irregularities. And so I want to be, very clear that it is grossly unfair and incredibly racist for the state of Tennessee to point their fingers at the Board of Trustees at Tennessee State University and talk to them about what they should or should not be doing when the state is admittedly withheld hundreds of millions for the history of the university that could have and should have been going to address these problems. For example, the legislator took issue with Dr. Glenda Baskin Glover for awarding scholarships and for increasing the growth when there was no housing. And it's like, so are you upset with her for doing exactly what a university president is supposed to do, which is to attract top talent, retain students, and grow the university? Or should you be upset with yourself that the $250 million that you have finally allocated towards building campus buildings is a day late and $1 short? And so again, that's why I say we have to not start in the middle of the story, and we have to resist this play out of the white supremacy handbook of looking at Black people and telling us what we shoulda, coulda, and woulda done without acknowledging what happened to put us in the positions that we were in.
So how did we handle that as Black folks in the country, right? Like how do we, when we see this type of move being made and this type of play taken, what can Black folks do? Your everyday average Black person in the state of Tennessee, or even in other parts of the country, what type of move what type of recourse can we take? Whether it's legal recourse, political recourse, what kind of action can we take?
So the primary thing right now is we are in an election year, and Tennesseans, as well as all of the other Black Americans who live in jurisdictions where there are historically Black colleges and universities, get in touch with your lawmakers. Ask them about the funding to HBCUs in your state, what they are doing to support it, what they are doing to make sure HBCUs are getting the monies that are actually allocated to them. And when we find out that historically that has not happened, what are you doing to push forward reparations to put these universities in the same place or in the same position as equally situated, predominantly white campuses in the state? And so that's the most important thing we can do right now is these representatives are not our bosses. They are our employees, and we need to start acting like it and hold their feet to the fire because legislators approve these budgets. And if they don't know, it's their responsibility to know, and we need to hold their feet to the fire until they get the information and start moving in a direction that makes these universities like TSU whole.
I love it. I'm looking at another report from Tennessee Lookout, and it says that TSU supporters downplayed the audits during a Monday rally, which was yesterday in the state capitol, contending instead that state lawmakers started attacking the university following reports of underfunding. So meaning that once the spotlight was put on state lawmakers, then the state lawmakers said, oh, no, it's not our fault, it's y'all fault. Y'all the problem, not us. No, we didn't. Like you said, this has been a problem for funding for the past probably like 30, 40 years. And I know I've had so many conversations coming from Baltimore about like places like Morgan State University and Coppin and other places, other HBCUs in that part of the country. And it's always the same story, always the same thing. And, you know, as Black folks, and I'm glad that you mentioned this, and I want to get your final thoughts on this before we take our final pause here in the first hour. As Black folks, how do we make sure that we don't fall for the okie doke? That when we hear stories like this, we don't automatically assume Black folks effing up the money. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And not understanding that we have no money to F up in the beginning.
Yes. And on some level, we have to remember, even though we're talking about millions of dollars, these institutions operate just like we do on our personal budgets. So if I have $100 worth of bills and $80, something is not going to get paid. And It's very easy to Monday morning quarterback me about what choices I made, about what I paid or what I didn't. But if I have $80 and $100 worth of bills and somebody owes me $50, well, the last person that needs to be talking about how I robbed Peter to pay Paul is the person that owes me $50. Run me my money and I could pay all my bills and have something left. Right. And so I think we have to keep that in mind, that the people who are talking about what Tennessee State University is doing are the people that owe them $50 million, except it's more like $150 million. And instead of them talking about what the university is or is not doing, let's talk about how you're going to make reparations for the total value of that money if the university had been able to put it in an endowment in the last 30 years and have it grow the way it should have been growing.
Woo! All right, I'm gonna let that fire just sit right there for us to take in. My sister Amber Webb Sims, I truly appreciate you. We're gonna have to bring you back on very soon because I'm sure this story is going to continue to develop. But I thank you so much, folks. Make sure y'all check her out on the Broke-ish podcast, where all podcasts are streaming. And my sisters can be also seen here now on The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Amber, thank you for being so good for the culture.
Thank you so much, Farajii. See you soon.
See you soon. All right, folks, let's take another quick pause. And when we come back, let's switch gears. Is this Beyonce's country? We'll have that conversation and so much more on the other side. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. He stoked racial violence, attacked voting rights, and if reelected, vowed to be a dictator and, quote, get revenge. We can't go back. As president, I put money in pockets, creating millions of new jobs, and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Terry and I, we couldn't play in the white clubs in Minnesota. It felt like such a, strength through adversity type moment that I think Black people just have to go through. We have to figure it out.
Right.
We make lemons out of lemonade. But there's a reason we rented a ballroom, did our own show, promoted it, got like 1,500 people to come out. Clubs were sitting empty. They were like, "Where's everybody at?" And I said, "They're down watching the band you wouldn't hire." So it taught us not only that we had the talent of musicians, but we also had to have the talent of entrepreneurship. It wasn't like a seat at the table. It's like, no, let's build the table.
That's right.
We got to build the table. And,
That's right.
And that was the thing. And of course, after that, we got all kinds of offers.
Of course.
Right, to come play in the clubs. But we didn't do it. We said,
"No, we good."
No, we're good. We're good. And that's what put us on a path of national. And of course, when Prince made it, then it was like, okay, we see it can be done.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we had a fantastic first half of the show where we talked a little bit about former President Donald Trump paying his $175 million bond for that civil fraud case just to stave off getting those properties seized. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, had a great conversation with our attorney, Amber Webb Sims, the attorney and co-host of the Brokers podcast, talking about the latest coming out of the state of Tennessee around Tennessee lawmakers breaking up TSU and HBCU down in Tennessee, breaking up their board of trustees to try to bring some order around the finance issues and housing and scholarship. So if you missed those first half of the show, make sure you check back, be a part of Team Replay, go to our website today at Black Star Network, and we hope that you check it out. Also, we're streaming on our website at blackstarnetwork.com. We're also streaming on Amazon platforms. You can find us on Amazon on your Fire TV, also, as well as on Amazon Prime Video. Take a look at that. You can find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV, The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then Live TV, The News. We're also on the Freevee Network, where you can find us on now under News for Black Star Network, and on Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just find us on a Live TV, The News, and Opinion. And we are also streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media pages. So you can find us on his Facebook page as well as his YouTube channel. And in the chat, that's where you will find the illustrious Culture crew, those folks who would check in each and every day, part of the conversation. Big shout out to the crew on the X platform, on Facebook, and of course on YouTube. And I appreciate y'all for being a part of the show today. All right, let's talk a little bit about, let's switch gears a little bit, folks. Let's talk about something that folks have been discussing, a more cultural conversation, but it's a conversation that I felt like we needed to have in light of everything else that's been happening musically and artistically, especially when it talks about Black music culture. We're talking about Beyonce. Her latest album, Cowboy Carter, has officially dropped, and it has sparked a number of different discussions about everything from Black artistry to Black folks in country music and the history. And she also paid homage, paid some honor to those who paved the way for country music, from everyone from Dolly Parton to Willie Nelson to the great Linda Martell. And she also has a track on there called Blackbird, which is a Beatles remake of a song that the Beatles made in dedication to the Little Rock Nine. I did not know that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We want you to join us in the conversation. But first, let me check in with my sister, Tasha Love, who is a radio DJ and cultural analyst, to give us the latest around this particular album. Tasha, good to connect with you once again. How you feeling today? Wait a minute, you on mute, Tasha. Hold on, Tasha. You on mute? Are you on mute? Is that me? Wait a minute. Yeah, you talking, but we can't hear you.
I know. Hi. Listen, I am so excited to talk to you, the whole crew. First of all, let me start by saying Amber is amazing. And
cheers.
I was over here blown away. And as an alumnus from Morris Brown College, the Rising Phoenix, I really just think it's such an important topic. And of course, there's always the culture covers it. And I'm just so thankful that you are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that. Did you find, I know we were going to talk about Beyonce in a moment, but I want to get your take now. Did you find that this type of issue was coming up with Morris Brown and other HBCUs at the time you were in college?
Well, right as I was getting ready to graduate at Morris Brown, there were rumors coming that we were about to lose accreditation. And so since with us going through that process, it was quite scary because we were coming out with degrees, but were they worth anything? And then when you really look at the largest donors, they go to Morehouse, Spelman, and CAU. Morris Brown is the first college to be founded by Blacks, for Blacks, by slaves. Morris Brown was a former slave. That's why I chose to go to the school after leaving, New York. I mean, it was just important that I went to a school that was just founded on such incredible morals. Like, I'm a Brownite to the day I die. And so anytime there's a culture, and now that we're back and we do have accreditation again, it's just really important to acknowledge those schools that have fallen, because I remember when Morris Brown lost it, everybody was, looking at us as though it were shameful, when actually it was a cry for help to save such a historic school. And now to see other schools going through that process, it is extremely humbling. And I just want to thank our current president for bringing us back.
Yeah, he put a lot of money back into HBCUs. We know that, and one of our culture crew members, Cindy B, she just said that. She said, the vice president has been, of course, the vice president, an alumni of Howard University, but she has been very vocal about support for HBCUs. And I'm not getting, very quickly before we take our next pause, I'm not concerned about the support from like the president of the White House, oddly enough. I'm not concerned about that. I think that has already been communicated and they got the message there. So that's why they put literally like billions of dollars into helping HBCUs. My concern is us. My concern is the alumni and just folks, everyday Black folks in this country, right? Because I feel like there's still such a small number of Black folks that are like HBCU all in and stuff like that. I didn't go to an HBCU, but that's because at the time I made a decision based on what I wanted to study, not necessarily like, I wanted to be in the culture and the blah, blah, blah. So, but I still think it's so important that Black folks who don't even go to HBCUs to still be a part of the conversation on how to make HBCUs better, how to make sure that they are funded. Like, we should all be in the fight to support HBCUs. Now, the other thing is making sure, and we can't do this. Folks that work within HBCUs can only do this. Making sure that they have the systems and the processes in place to handle that. Because if you want all Black folks to, or our children or our great-grandchildren or our nieces and nephews to go to HBCUs, y'all say, well, we need to support HBCUs. And then when we get there, you got housing problems, you got scholarship problems, you got, you know what I'm saying? You got all types of issues and infrastructure. You can't handle the growth of HBCUs. Then how about we put a pause on recruitment? Let's work on making sure that the buildings are in
foundations,
make sure that the money is straight, like y'all got the necessary process. Make sure that the administrative side of things is straight before we start getting into this large recruitment. Because what's the point?
Facts.
We're going
Well,
to create our own people to come out of these HBCUs experiences, and they're not going to have good things to say, Tasha.
Well, you know what is so poignant about what you just said is that I just watched Roland Martin live where he was talking at the town hall about it at the church when he was in Tennessee. One of the main points that got really hit home was that we've always been used to making the best with less, right? So we know how to make that dollar stretch. But that's not right. You owe us billions. Give us the billions so that way we can have the the fundamentals for education as though you're giving to the other universities and college within the state. I mean, I could talk to you about all this. Me, you, and Amber. we can talk about this all day. And I'm just glad that a voice is being heard. Where would we be without the Black Star Network to get this information out? Because you're certainly not getting it on mainstream, right? We're not getting it on the ABC, CNN, NBC. Nobody's covering this. We need to cover our own. And that's why I'm just so proud to be here. I think you might be muted this time. I don't think it's me. I think it's you. I can't hear you.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. As president, I put money in pockets and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Hopefully we get the technical difficulties taken care of. Joined by my sister, Tasha Love, and who is a radio DJ. She's been a part of The Culture for many, many years. She's a cultural analyst here on The Culture, and we're so happy to have her. She was giving us her experience of working with HBCUs, and I just wanted to make the point that we still have a lot of work to do from the cultural side of things, Tasha. And it's not just about the state, right? The state is going to do what the state do. And as much as the state owes HBCUs, whether it's Tennessee State University or any other HBCU in the country, we have to make sure we keep applying pressure. We talk about, Tasha, folks be like, oh, I'm applying pressure in the intimate relationships. When I step out the room, girl, I'm applying pressure.
Okay. Apply the pressure during homecoming when we all out there on the yard. Okay, that's the collection plate when we're on the yard. Makes no sense to me. We spend all this money in libations, right? And we have the tents out where we're selling all this paraphernalia. You know what? In fact, I might bring that up to the women of Morris Brown. We might as well just have a collection plate tent. Just come, bring your money. You know, back in the day, we used to have to do fish plates. You know what I mean? We got to get back to the grassroots of raising money and giving back on our own. But like you said, not waiting for the state, because if we do that, I mean, hello, we already see the condition that we're in. And Georgia's, dare I say, a former Confederate state. You know what I mean? It's not like we're top of mind. So we need to be really careful about how we are taking care of our HBCUs.
Absolutely. Great point. All right, speaking of Blackness, let's talk about your favorite artist, Tasha, Beyonce. As Jay-Z say, Beyonce. Okay. This is Beyonce's country. Now, she had warned us that this is not a complete country album.
Yeah.
This is a Beyonce's album. This is what she had said herself when she made that IG post a few days before the album release. So for folks who was expecting to hear, you know what I'm saying, like straight country, you might get a little different thing. But the one thing that she did do, and there was a lot of talk about how she was going to approach this subject matter and really start to bend the genre, is that she made sure that she paid homage to a number of artists and those voices that paved the way for even her to come out and to do this in the way that she did it. All right, let's talk a little bit more about it. First and foremost, she paid homage to one of the great Black country music pioneers, great artist. She laid the pathway. She took the hits. We're talking about our sister Linda Martell. Beyonce gives Linda Martell her flowers. And a lot of folks saying that there's no other voice, there's no other presence that truly shaped this album, Cowboy Carter, like Linda Martell. If you're not familiar with the great history of Linda Martell, folks, she was a Black country artist, a Black woman. She's still alive today, a beautiful sister. She was the first solo Black woman country artist to play the famed Grand Ole Opry. That's the picture of our sister, Linda Martell. She was the first Black woman to play the Grand Ole Opry. And so one of the album tracks is called The Linda Martell Show, which is an intro to the song Yaya. And she appears on the track with Beyonce, as well as the song Spaghetti. Linda Martell, she's 82 years old, long history in country music. A lot of folks don't know who she is. They're not familiar with her vocals. So now, because Beyonce put her out there, bringing her history back up, she's opened the door for people to learn about Linda Martell. What's your take on that?
My take on it is what a beautiful tribute, right? Because here you have Linda, who has been ignored basically by an industry that she's been in for decades. And here we have Beyonce. It's so funny when I thought about this word earlier today. Dare I say, a music freedom fighter. When I thought of it, when I was talking to you, when I was preparing for the show all just over the weekend and stuff, that's exactly what I thought of when I started learning about more and more Black country artists who are not mad at Beyonce for making Cowboy Carter. They're actually really appreciative because now, since Beyonce has come in with Cowboy Carter, she's the first Black woman to hit the top of the charts with a #1 single. But I say freedom fighter, and I say, there's levels to the game, right? So it's fair to say that the Country Music Awards really pissed Beyonce off. And I think their reaction to her singing with the Chicks was, they were all offended. So, they made her feel that way. And so here she is coming in, kicking the door. Little did we know it was 8 years that this project has been in motion. But they hurt her. And I think it's okay to say she was hurt. And she was hurt. She was angry. She was plotting it all through. And so the first thing that she said was, I needed to go and research the history. And that's how she found Miss Linda. So I think that it was bold. I think that it was about time. It's overdue. And I say that this is the way that the country music platform gives Miss Linda her props. Then that's what we need to do. We need to recognize those who came before us as we do within our own culture. Bravo.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's a Beyonce, it's a beautiful tribute to a woman who took so many hits, right? To just tell her story through country music, right? It's a beautiful tribute. And you know, at first, I'm gonna be honest with you, Tasha, I didn't know how Beyonce was going to approach this, right? But after listening to the album a little bit, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling this. This is Beyonce's country music album.
That's right.
You still hear her vocals and you still hear her spin on it, but then there's definitely, like in certain tracks, you can hear the influences, you can hear the inspirations of a Linda Martell, you can hear the inspirations of a Dolly Parton. Now, the thing is, and we're going to take a quick pause, but I want to kind of, as we talk about this for Black artistry, because I think because of the allegations around Diddy, and we're starting to see more and more conversation about how hip hop is, how much good is hip hop really good for us at this point, and just in terms of Black artistry, do you think that this is going to create some different conversation about us bending the genres a little bit and us telling our stories a little bit? Do you expect more artists to be in a space where they're going to like, okay, let me spill over into this genre, let me go into this place, because I'm not just one type of person. I have other talents. I want to use my other skill sets to make sure that I get my music, my expression out there. So I want to give you an opportunity to answer that on the other side. Folks, I want you to join us in the conversation. So we're talking about Beyonce. This is Beyonce's country, talking about her album, talking more about the impact of the album on Black music culture, and so much more. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. He stoked racial violence, attacked voting rights, and if reelected, vowed to be a dictator and, quote, get revenge. We can't go back. As president, I put money in pockets, creating millions of new jobs, and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered.
Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, Tasha Love, who is a DJ as well as a culture critic and who's been working in the culture of music for many, many years, giving us her take on the latest cultural discussion around Beyonce. And as we talk about This Is Beyonce's Country, and more importantly, talking about what Beyonce's new project, Cowboy Carter, is bringing to the game, and more importantly, to the culture. There she is, riding the white horse. But Tasha, you know, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
The other song popped in my head when you said that.
Oh, okay.
It was the other song that popped into my head. Hip hop people will get that, but yeah, don't worry about me.
But when we
this
were talking
is why
about,
we get along so well, because you and I are on the same vibe.
We were talking about how Beyonce paid her tribute, gave the flowers to country great and pioneer Linda Martell. But I wanted to kind of get a sense from you, with her paying homage to a Black country pioneer like Linda, do you think it's going to open up the doors for us to have some different conversation about how our stories are told, that we're not going to be particular genre? I saw Jean Baptiste, who posted or who said that he's happy that Beyonce is moving forward on creating an album that dismantles the genre machine. And you've worked in radio, you understand why genres were created, that it's a way for us to categorize and kind of quantify certain things. But are we at that time where we do need to start to dismantle the genre machine and kind of just make music however we feel like it? What's your take on that?
You know what? I think that's a fantastic question. And I think that, yeah, it's about time. Do I think it's going to happen instantaneously? Sorry about that. No, I don't. But what I do think is that it opens the door for additional conversation. Is it like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. Radio is even more difficult to crack through, because radio is built on sales and it is built on demographics and audience. The thing about the country music genre is that they put up a barricade on something that we created. But there was a categorization that happened, back in previous times of radio days, as they say, where it was race records. They categorized Black people, white people, Latino music, all according to race. And so that's why you have the Black music charts, you have the country music charts. The thing about this that is so interesting with Beyonce is that Beyonce's not the first country artist to hit the genre, right? We've got so many artists, Black artists that have come before her. But again, as I said, they're all excited that she's there, because it is bringing it's shining a light on those particular artists. T-Pain even is a writer for country music. And one of the things that he said was, I don't even put my name on a record anymore. I just get the check. I don't even put my name on it anymore because of the racism that I deal with and the comments that I get. We don't want that. And I liken what Miss Linda went through back then when she was performing at the Grand Ole Opry, to what Beyonce went through on the CMAs. Now, she had it worse. But back then, she couldn't even stay in the same hotels that she wanted to, because, they weren't allowing Black people into those hotels. It's really sad that this is something that we have to reclaim our own music. But don't we do that anyway? When Kid Rock comes over and he raps on his record, or he put out a hit record, a country music album, and he's rhyming on it, we don't say get out of here with that. It just doesn't fit our genre. And so what's so annoying is that they can cross over, but they telling us we can't go to where we came from. I don't understand that part. I like in this album that Beyonce has done, and she's right. It is not a country album. It is a Beyonce album because she puts a spin on it that's so hard. From Tyrant, even the cut she did with Miley Cyrus. I mean, these are even Blackbird, where she went and got, you know, the top recording artists, the top female recording artists that are doing country, Black females that are doing those records now. But I liken this to a line in the sand that she's drawn with the gatekeepers of country music, telling Black people that they don't have access. I imagine her rolling up, is what I said on a post. I imagine her rolling up, you know, to the Mason-Dixon line in a lowrider with her middle finger up, like, I'm coming and I'm bringing my crew. All the Black cowboys were all coming. She's been hinting that she's been doing this for 8 years. We didn't know about it. She's been handling this very well. If you look at her 2021 Adidas line, it's all dedicated to Black country attire. She's not the first. She's not going to be the last. Thank God she's not going to be the last, because.
But she's going to be. She's one of the biggest. She is the biggest. I mean, she's the biggest artist.
Yeah.
To come into the space, and like you said, to put a huge spotlight on it, and it shows, and it's showing. Let me just share this very quickly before we take our next pause. New data from Spotify. Rolling Stone just did a piece about this. They just released this one piece yesterday where they said that Dolly Parton, Linda Martell, Willie Nelson, Spotify numbers skyrocket thanks to Beyonce. They're showing that new data from Spotify shows that Linda Martell, her LP from 1970 called Color Me Country, the first major country album released by a Black woman, saw an increase of nearly 127,000% in catalog Spotify streams over this weekend. Her track Bad Case of the Blues saw a nearly 1,200% jump in streams as well. Spotify also highlighted the people who discovered Linda Martell's music for the first time following B's album. The country legend had an uptick of 1,145% of first-time listeners on the platform over the weekend. And so that just goes to show you. Let's go talk about Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton got her moment on Cowboy Carter. She also was with Beyonce, shared her flowers with Dolly Parton. Of course, Beyonce reimagined her version of Jolene. She gave Dolly Parton all of the writing credits for Jolene for that one. We saw an uptick in that for Dolly Parton. She saw an uptick on Spotify from her 2013 version of From Here to the Moon and Back featuring Parton, which saw a 4,800% jump. Dolly Parton's solo classic Family Bible also saw an increase of 890%. I mean, she's putting money in the pockets of people.
Yes.
Who created the genre.
Yes, not only that.
I mean, she is, that's the B effect right there. That's Queen B doing it.
I was just about to say that is the B effect. And, you know, the beautiful thing about this is that other Black artists are being recognized. But just like you said, see, that's the right thing to do, right? When somebody introduces you into something, you acknowledge them, but then you go in and you make your own path. So kudos to her on what she did with Jolene. I love it. And I love what she did with Willie Nelson. I also love what she did with Miley Cyrus. I will tell you that I'm a huge fan of the album. And I'm looking forward to see what it does for the rest of the culture, not just for Beyonce. Listen, I think that we'll get mixes of country music from her, but this is not her lane. She's not going to stay here. She came to prod that horse.
Right.
She put her mark on it, and she's moving on to Act 3. She's not going to be here long, but she did already tell us. Look at that platinum horse that she's been riding on. We're the only ones that really didn't know what the symbolization was. But just like you said, the Beyonce effect it's bigger than just commercial radio. When I say commercial, I literally mean just terrestrial radio, right? Getting in your car, putting on the radio station. It's the streaming platforms that are going to make this album number one continually and down the line. Mainstream radio is not going to play this. This is literally for TikTok. It's for the streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple, etc. And so that's why she doesn't have to worry about the plays that she would normally get from country radio, because it is going to come from the streaming platforms. That Beyonce effect is not only just affecting music. Look at the sales of Stetson. Stetson, after she did that Super Bowl performance, the search on Google was 400% for cowboy hats. The sales of boots have gone within a week, 212% increase. She actually worked with Stetson. Again, she knows what she wants to do. Stetson hasn't had a partnership with her stylist. So we just catching up. She's already going to the next, and the next is continuing to put a stamp on this genre that told her she couldn't come in. So now what she's going to do is she's going to go kick in the door. She's bringing all of us with her, and when I say all of us, I mean the culture. And then not only that, but she's bringing in her own soundtrack. You have all these beautiful Black country artists in there, and they're all lining up, and she's paying homage to them. She just sent Kay Michelle a giant bouquet of flowers and said, I know that we've never met. I look forward to working with you. Here's a bouquet so I can at least acknowledge what you're doing in the industry, and I love it. And that's what it is. It is the sisterhood. She is literally her own sisterhood. She goes and she gets other people.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, we got to take another quick pause. When we come back, let's continue to have the conversation on the other side. Plus, I'm going to share what you are saying about this being Beyonce's country. Plus, I got something to talk to Tasha about as we kind of look at a new reboot that's going to be hitting the TV screens very soon. A very different reboot. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Stay with us. It's happening. All of this is happening on Today's Culture on the Black Star Network.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. As president, I put money in pockets and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, Tasha Love, culture analyst, and she is a longtime, DJ, as well as one of the great voices within the Black music culture. And she joins us here on The Culture periodically. We're going to have to give her a little segment, a little slice of this time pie here on The Culture as we talk about these things. But we're talking about Beyonce's latest album, Cowboy Carter, talking about the musical artistry of Beyonce, and more importantly, the impact that this album is having on the conversations about everything from Black country music to breaking genres. And I want to get some of the voices in here from our online culture crew that have been checking in. Corinna, my sister, you said I would have liked to see Mickey Guyton on a song with me, but still a great album. I like that. That's a great idea. Great idea. She probably would have gotten Mickey Guyton, but maybe it was a time thing. But no, that's a great point. Great point. Thank you, Corinna. Cindy D, you say country is a combination of rock, blues, and gospel. Ray Charles sung all three. Absolutely. Mingli Natasha Surge, you said she wants to win Album of the Year award because mainstream keeps snubbing her. What's your take on that part of the conversation, Tasha? You think that's what she's trying to do right now? Or
I think that she makes a valid point when she says that. But you know what? If you're not gonna give it to her in a genre that she actually deserved it in, and let's be clear, you know, I like Beyonce. I'm not necessarily part of the Beehive. I say that meaning I don't eat, sleep, and breathe, but I can appreciate her music. And there are some records that I love there, but I love her talent. And I think that her work ethic speaks volumes over a lot of artists that we have coming out today. Now, with that said, this particular album is most important, and it does, in my opinion, where it stands right now, on April 2nd, what it does deserve Album of the Year, right? However, I know that Taylor Swift got an album coming out next week. What are the Swifties gonna do? What you know? Is it gonna have a pop of country music in there? I don't know. I don't know who else is on the line. But I will say this: Beyonce, with this particular Beyonce country album, she has woken up country music in her own culture, and she is educating the country music genre of their own, because clearly they didn't even realize the work that we put in. You know, we are so vital to the culture, and that translation gets lost when they don't know who's writing these number one hits for country music artists. Beyonce, what she did with this particular album is she highlighted not only Black country artists, she's also sharing the mic with Stevie Wonder, Rihanna Gibbons, who played the banjo on Texas Hold'em. And she reminded me, once we started talking more about where the banjo came from, which we know came over from Africa, my grandparents used to have the banjo lesson over the fireplace in the den where I grew up in White Plains, New York. And I did not make the connection until this conversation started happening. And that was many months ago.
Well, that's true. That's a great point. That's a great point. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I got a question for you.
We're growing up with all these hints around us of a culture that we almost definitely are a part of, but has somehow gotten erased. And isn't that what they're doing anyway with diversity, education, and inclusivity? Like, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to erase our history. And if nobody's going to stand up and do it, we know a musician that will, because it's going to live on. The young TikTokers, the young music lovers, they're going to hear it and they're going to start to ask questions. And that is what we need for the culture.
And let me ask you this very quick. We got a couple of moments left on this particular topic. So I want to it's going to be two questions. The first one is, why didn't we talk as much about her effort as it relates to the Lion King soundtrack? Because on the Lion King, I went back and listened to some of the songs, and if y'all remember when Beyonce dropped that Lion King, first they had the movie soundtrack, obviously the live action movie, but then the actual then she put out an album as an accompaniment to the Lion King, which it was her and Jay-Z and a number of other artists, and the album's called The Lion King: The Gift. I didn't remember us having these deeper conversations about the impact that she makes, or the highlight that she brought to the Afro beats music scene. Did we have those type of conversations? It just seemed like we were like, oh yeah, she did a Lion King soundtrack. That's cool. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like more people were slamming her for her performance in the Lion King movie.
I was just about to ask Lisa. I was just about to say, Lisa, how much time do we have? Because if we're really going to talk about it, let's talk about it. People were upset with Beyonce for doing an Afrobeats album because she's a light-skinned woman. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the colorism within our own community. People are tired of seeing Beyonce because she's a workhorse. She has tours back to back to back to back to back to back. She has albums back to back to back to back to back. you know, and when it came down to it, a lot of people felt as though who is Beyonce to come into this Afrobeat space and try to tell us what we need for the culture?
And the album, and that Tasha.
Yeah.
I think some of her best music was off that album.
It was off the album, and not only that,
but I got a song with her and Jay-Z. Oh my gosh, man, he had a verse that was killer. I was like, damn, boy, like this dude is like fine wine. He don't get old, right? Like.
Well, what did she say? She said, "Let me upgrade you." They know what it is. They know what it is. It is really a science. It is a method to her madness that some of us are going to get it and some of it are not. Some of us are going to like it, some of us are not. And if you don't, if it's not for you, guess what? You have a slew of other artists that you can easily fall into.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We can either talk about getting history or we can city girl it to death. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this, because I think this is the other part of it. When you're using Beyonce, and this is outside of music, and this is because there is a number of, and I've been reading a number of different articles, think pieces from Black women who are saying that they are tired of being confined and using Beyonce as like the backdrop of a Black woman who is stepping out of her comfort zone, stepping out of her confined space, stepping out of the expectations of the culture and society. Black women are writing and expressing, saying that, you know what, we're tired of being confined, especially in the workplace or in politics and all of this. Do you think that with her dropping this particular album, it might be a big stretch, but I'm gonna pose the question, that even with her dropping the album, that it pushes Black women, the plight, the struggle, the desire of Black women to be seen as a multifaceted person? Do you think this album pushes Black women into that space, or what? What do you see that happening?
We've always been here. That's just the thing. I think all she's doing is shining a light on the fact that we're here because she is a world star. You know, according to Billboard magazine and a lot of the music industry execs, you know, they liken the Beyonce coming around every once in a blue moon. She, you know, I've heard her being compared to Michael Jackson, and it's not necessarily the work more so than her work ethic. The Dixie Chicks said it, or the Chicks said it. There is no work ethic like her. And I'm going to tell you this. I was the first to bring her to Atlanta on a large stage for a radio station, one of my radio station events. And that's back when Destiny's Child was there, when she was a part of the group. And when I tell you to see the growth from then to now, it's incomparable. Like you can't even compare the two. She has literally morphed into a workhorse. Her dedication to the craft is incredible. She did sound check. She doesn't leave. She does the entire show for her sound check. Whereas I have artists that come in and do sound check for 15 minutes and they like, okay, I'm good. Then when the sound messes up in the end, it's like, right, but you should have stayed. Like, what's your work ethic? But again, just to answer your question, we've always been here. What she did for country music was she said, here are all of the artists. Here's the spotlight. She took the spotlight of herself and she put it on everybody else who was Black in country music and said, I'm not the only one and I'm not the first. So you would want to know I'm definitely not going to be the last. Last night, she accepted the Innovative Award over at iHeartRadio. Stevie Wonder introduced her and she told us that Stevie Wonder played the harmonica on her album. So what I'm saying is that she's not the type of artist to be like, no, this is my toy. You can't have it. She's literally like, here, everybody come get some. Everybody eat. It's like one of my favorite movies. Everybody eat, B. You know what I'm saying? It really is. It really is her sharing and educating. You know, I get that some people don't like Beyonce, and that's all well and good, but we do have to look at what she's done for the culture, and we cannot ignore that she is an innovator. She is a mover and shaker. She's an educator, whether we like her or not.
Absolutely. All right, we got to take another quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about Good Times and the reboot. Yeah, I'm going to share with... Why Tasha already signed? We'll talk about it. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. As president, I put money in pockets and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks. Thank you so much for welcoming. Thank you so much for tuning into the culture here on the Black Star Network. Still got my sister Tasha Love checking in with me, and I don't even know how to start this part of the conversation. As we talk about, there is a new reboot of Good Times that will be airing on Netflix. Now, before you start figuring out who's playing JJ and what's happened to the father, trust and believe this is not a live show. This is an animated show that is produced by Norman Lear, who serves as the original creator of Good Times, along with Steph Curry. That's right, the basketball player, Steph Curry, Steph MacFarlane of Family Guy fame, and Norman Lear's production company. This is an animated show premiering this month, and it's a look at a next generation of Evans family and the Chicago housing project. It's scheduled to air on Netflix at April the 12th, and they're living in the housing project on Chicago's South Side, Tasha, in the same apartment, 17C, that the Evans family lived in on the original series. Now, there are going to be 10 episodes of the animated series. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, Tasha.
Apparently,
to take a show of Good Time caliber, right? I mean, the original show aired in 1974. It was on for 6 seasons. It is a classic for America, but I think for Black America, it is like a staple show, right? In all of its ebbs and flows of it. And now they decided to kind of continue the story in an animated form, put it on Netflix, and you're still talking about Black people in the ghetto, in the hood, in 2024. How do you think this is going to resonate for a diverse, much more conscious audience of Black people in America?
I think that this is an astonishing revelation as to how the powers that be with money see our culture. Here we are 50 years later in the same apartment with the same refrigerator and the same Black Jesus on the wall. And the character that I believe is also called Junior has been in the 10th grade for 3 years straight, and he's still not out. And the recommendation from his teacher was that he starts an OnlyFans. I mean, this is insulting to say the least, underlined with the hint of, oh, but we're going to be talking about gun violence, and we're also going to be talking about women's empowerment, and we're going to be talking about finances and things like that. And you know what's so insulting is to think that we can never make it out. We're always going to be in this same place. And I want to tell you that when I think I was a little bit excited when I first heard about the trailer, and then I saw the trailer, and then I sat back, and then I was like, really? as I is, because you don't know what to say. We get the highest office in America with President Barack Obama, and they want to remind us, oh right, but don't forget you
came from the ghetto.
Still here, you're never going to make it out. And I have had conversations with a lot of heavy hitters in the industry today, and we're all torn. It's like how it depends upon how you look at it. Do you look at it as adult comedy like the Boondocks, or do we look at it like the Family Guy? Well, okay, stop. First of all, the Family Guy lived in a house. Okay. Peter had a job. And they were not in the same position where they were 50 years ago. You're telling me that there was absolutely no movement in 50 years? I thought Thelma's husband got a contract and we got out of there. But now we back at 17C where the elevator with Michael falling down is still there. We still there. We still there with the same walls. It's just, to me, it's a bigger sign as to how they really see us and how they want to continue to see us. And I'm not so much as worried about our culture watching this, more so than the worldwide broadcast of this on Netflix, because the audience is different. And I think that we can understand what I'm saying when I say the audience is different. We cannot listen. I live in Georgia. I can tell you who drives down from the mountains, okay, whenever Trump is in town. You don't think that they're looking at this and saying, see what I'm saying? This is why they don't need money for school. Here we have 3 years in the 10th grade. It's insulting.
It is. Well, you know what, Antonio, you said, Antonio said, who asked for this? Right. I don't
know. Who asked for that? That's what everybody said. Who asked for this? Why are we remaking this? I agree.
First thing, and there has always been some level of controversy around Norma Lear's productions, right? Of course, he's known for Good Times, All in the Family, The Jeffersons, Sanford and Son, but he has a controversial history just in the fact of his as you mentioned, his storytelling of Black life in America. And so with Sanford and Son, you got a father and son living in a junkyard. You got and All in the Family. I think the Jeffersons kind of serve as an outlier a little bit because
we're moving on up.
We're moving on up. But even so, that became somewhat, the characters of George Jefferson became this caricature of a Black man who has made it to the top, right? And so there are a lot of people, I think, that are kind of like, not kind of pushed off about how he represented Black people. But to be honest with you, like when I saw the trailer for this, I was thinking to myself, like, maybe they're trying to do what like the Proud Family did. Maybe they're trying to work in the same thing. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. I feel like you're putting us back into if you had a Black family that was living in a house, a Black family I don't know people, maybe it's the Cosby Show that I've been tainted.
I agree, but we're talking about, you mean to tell me within 50 years, there's no change, there's no land ownership, there's no financial literacy, there's nobody graduating?
Hey, real quick, Tasha. And then look, I come from Baltimore, you in Georgia. I know what the projects look like, right? I know what but how many projects are still standing in America right now? Like, I'm being dead ass serious.
No.
How many of those housing tenements, how many of those housing buildings still stand in America right now?
Well, you know what?
Chicago, is Cabrini Green still the same way?
Listen.
If you're in New York,
the land is so valuable. The land is so valuable that they have been tearing them down to rebuild for condominiums and the regentrification of it all. Let's just keep it real. The one land that where they put us is now so valuable that they're moving us out. But in our minds, we're still trapped in the same way, because think about it, just like we're connected to our phones and we're connected to the TVs, that's whatever we take in is what develops like a seed. And the unfortunate thing about this is not just the junior who is again in the 10th grade for the third year. But then they have a strip scene, a stripper pole scene. They have a gun shooting. They have gun violence. I think the mother gets involved in politics. I really want to mark this off and say this is something that I'm not going to watch, but I'm hoping that there is a line that that they are going to cross to flip the narrative. I'm hoping that this trailer is just to get us disgusted and talking about it, so that way the ratings are actually up there high.
And what do you make of Steph? And what do you make, Tasha? Very quickly, what do you make of Steph Curry being behind this? I guess we don't have enough time.
You don't want it with me right now. This is not a slam dunk right now, in my opinion, but I do want to watch it to see more.
This is not all nets, Steph Curry. This is not all nets, sir. This is not all nets. Oyen, you said now, are we supposed to act like the ghetto don't exist? No, the ghetto exists, Oyen.
Nobody's saying that.
Nobody's saying that. But do we have to keep going back to the ghetto? Do we have to keep going back to the ghetto? Like, is our story, and I'm saying Black life in America is more than just our pain and struggle. Why can't we do, I mean, there are so many other stories that we can highlight. There are so many elements of Black life that we can highlight. We don't have to keep going back. And we don't seem to think, if this is an animated form, that means our children are going to be more appealed
drawn to it. Yes.
Than the adults, right? Just like the Proud Family, just like in other places. So if our children say, damn, a Black family in a ghetto in 17C, and they're just continuing to live life in public housing, what are we putting into our children's minds? All right, we got 30 seconds, Tasha. Go ahead.
I saw a really interesting quote that says, this is another minstrel show. So far, we've had baby kids. You know, this is almost like been there, done that. Gotcha. So at what point in time do we make an animation show, an animated show where we have the president with his kids living in the White House? Thankfully, we've got Luda and DTP's Karma's World. You know, we've got other influences that we could go to, but this is attractive. It was attractive to me visually, and I think that we need to be more responsible.
There it is right there. My sister Tasha Love, culture critic, DJ, radio DJ. She's been a part of the industry, one of our industry greats executives in the Black music community for many years down in Atlanta. And I'm always happy to have my sister on. Tasha will certainly bring you back on to have more cultural conversation. But thank you for being so good for the culture.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. Make sure y'all do your due diligence. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media. Also, make sure you follow me, yours truly, Farajii Muhammad. You can find me on at the Real Farajii on Instagram and at Farajii on the X platform. And I would love to connect with you as we continue to build the community online. All right. Stay tuned. Up next at 6 p.m. Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Peace.